Peter's still shaking, and Randy goes, "What?" And I say, "I'm sorry, Randy, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that." I said, "So here's the deal. You guys are going to drive the car together. When you come back, I'll look at the numbers." I looked at the numbers when they came back. We presented numbers. I was $1,700 over invoice. I showed them the invoice, and I did a technique which I'll teach you today called the invoice buyer technique, where you start at invoice and add gross and get them to buy it. I'm going to show you that. It's based in psychology. People do it. So I showed him invoice, added gross, and asked him to buy. He didn't buy, though. He didn't buy. He kept his word, which is what he said no less than 14 times, that he wasn't going to buy. He left the dealership, and he came back on Monday and bought at the price that I left him at. And the reason I know is because the GSM called me and said, "Do you remember that deal with Peter?" How will I ever forget that deal with Peter? He says, "They came in and they bought at the price I left him at." I said, "Well, fantastic. I hope Peter learns something." I'm going to teach you why the customer didn't buy. Commitment and consistency. You see, some people, applying pressure through minor and subsequent decisions and agreements, some people are influenced by commitments. Some people are influenced by commitments and the consistency of following through. Some people are wired where if they say something, they have to do it. They have to. And when you try to undermine their character, you undermine yourself. And this is hard for salespeople, especially managers, because we're all about urgency, which I want to tell you about next, which is scarcity. I'm going to show you scarcity is a powerful thing, but you need to know not everybody's influenced the way you're influenced, and not everybody's influenced the same. So what you got to know is people are different, but they're all the same in that they're all different. But they're all the same in the different ways that they're all the same. That even confused me. Right? So what am I saying? Command and consistency. I had a couple down in St. Petersburg, Florida, at Maher Chevrolet. This couple at St. Petersburg, Florida, Maher Chevrolet, it was Jim and Judy. I went on a TO for Jim and Judy. Jim is a retired union worker. Judy is a semi-retired nurse. They're there to look at an Impala. They've been with Carrie Hartman, the top salesman at that dealership. Been in the business for 44 years. They're working with Carrie. Carrie, as all great professionals, has added a lot of value to Jim and Judy. Jim and Judy are telling Carrie, "We need to go to this other dealership before we make a decision." Here's why. Judy's a retired or semi-retired nurse. While she was drawing blood a week ago, the person she was drawing blood from owns the dealership right down the road that's our competitor, the other Chevy store. So while she's drawing blood of this person, she asks him, he says, "If you're ever going to buy something, will you please do what? Before what?" And what did she say? "I will." She said, "I will do that." So they come and they meet Carrie. Carrie overwhelms them with value, but they're overwhelmed by commitment. And what they're telling me is, "John, we told him that we were going to go see him before we did anything. So we're not going to do anything today." Now I have a choice in front of me. I can try to get these people to break their word. Right? I can get them to try to break their word. Or I can look to see if, are they saying that as an objection, or are they saying that because that's their nature, that's their character? Right. What kinds of people tend to be people that are hardwired with commitment and consistency? Give me some clues. What's that? Christian people? Some could argue with you, but we're going to go with that. Should be. I've sold some pastors. I'm not going to argue with you now. We've all seen some pastors who leave Jesus at the curb. Right? Let's preach it, right? All right, sorry. Here we go. But for what people, as a clue, as a general rule, what demographics of people tend to put a lot of weight on commitment? Old people. What else? Keep going. Military. What I found out was that Jim was also retired military. Now I got two things going for me. I got a union worker. Are union workers committed people? Yeah. Been at the same job for 42 years, married to the same woman for 48 years. Is that a clue that these people value commitment? Yes or no? Yes. So I'm going to tell this man to start breaking his word. Why? So I can sell him a car? Do I have leverage if I ask him to do that?
No.
So I had another alternative. My alternative was to enforce this, reinforce this, to light a fire and push the hot button of this and congratulate them and compliment them on their commitments. And then do what? Ask them to do what? Make one more commitment. That's right. That's all I got to do. See, some of you are trying to talk people out of keeping their commitments when all you got to do is emphasize the commitment, then ask them to make one more. That's all I did with Jim and Judy. I said, Jim, Judy, I'm not going to be the kind of salesman to ask you to break your word. So few people in this world even keep their word. I said, you guys are happily married for 40 years. Why? Because you believe in commitments. You worked at the same company for that long. Why? Because you believe in commitments. I'm not going to be the salesman who tries to tell you guys not to keep your commitments. I really appreciate that you committed to that other dealer, and I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. In fact, I'm just going to ask you to do one thing. If you see value in what Carrie's done, I'm going to ask you to do what? Make one more commitment.
Come back and sing before you.
Thank you. All right, whose phone is that?
I'm sorry, Mark.
That's okay. I just need to know who was going to role play with me later. That's all I'm asking. I just need to know. All right, here we go. Watch this. Keep their commitment. So here's what I did. I said, Jim, Judy, I don't want you to break your promise. I want you to keep your promise and add one more. If you feel like Carrie's added value, I want you to make one more commitment to Carrie. That once again, you won't do anything until you give Carrie a fair shot. Now, there's more to the story, and I'll teach you this at the end when I teach you the three-waiter close. Not only, watch this, here's the end of the story. I'll tickle you with it, and I'll give it to you at the end. In the class, I'm going to teach you what close I used. Here's the end of the story. Not only did they come back and buy from Carrie, I have a video of Carrie, 44 years in the business, saying, John, I've never seen anything like what you did to my customers. I've never seen it before in my life. Here's the thing. Not only did they buy from him, but we didn't have to beat the price. Oh, it gets better. Not only that, they literally handed me a wad of cash of $300+ and asked me to give it to Carrie as a gift. I'll tell you how I did it at the end of the class when I get into closing. I'll show you the close I used that prompted them to do that. You see, guys, there are motivators that influence people. The reason why some of you have a difficult time influencing people is because you're trying to use the wrong influencer with this person. You're trying to use social proof when they don't care about other people. They care about their own opinions. Right? And you're trying to use liking and familiarity when they're more likely to respond to obligation, or the other way around. And there's usually a combination effect. But I want you to understand, there's lots of things that influence behavior. Let's get into the next one. Higher authority. Influencing someone because of perceived expertise or increased power in an area. Why does a manager get to go in and close a deal saying the things that you've been saying and they close a deal? Why? It's called what? Higher authority. There's a higher authority principle. But yes, you've been telling me, and you've been telling me, and you've been telling me, but when the manager comes in and says, folks, seriously, I looked at it, that's the best number we can do. Okay, I guess we'll do it. And you're like, what the hell am I going to say for 30 minutes? Come on, people. Are you kidding me right now? So here's your challenge. Here's my challenge to you. How much authority do you have in your process? See, here's what some of you say and do. And this is sabotage. You've said this to a customer probably last week. I'm sorry, that's not my job. I'm not the one who handles that. I'm not the one who sets the price. I'm not the one who appraises the cars. I don't handle the finance. I don't know anything about interest rates. I'm not sure where we have those parked. I don't know if it comes like that. And every time you say, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and that's not my job, what happens to your authority in their mind? And you're lowering with that your influence. You see, some of you can't influence people. Why? Because you're going around saying you're ignorant and incompetent the whole time. Every time you say somebody, I don't know, that's ignorance. Every time you say it's not my job, that's incompetence. And if you go around saying I'm ignorant and incompetent for 30 minutes, and then you wonder why they don't show you any respect. Why? Because you took it away. I'm going to show you how to fix that today. Because I want you to have in the mind of the customer, they need to think of you as an expert. They need to think that this person knows. We can trust this person. If you haven't had it in a while, you should try to get it, and you should try to get it often, but the customer should be asking you, Derek, what do you think? Is this a good deal? Do you think we should do it, Derek? If your customers aren't asking you that, it means you're not an authority in their mind. They don't trust you at that level. But when you position yourself that way, I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing when your customers, they don't say, can we have a minute, John, and send you away. Some will do that. But when they don't do that, when they say, hey, John, can we have a minute? I want to ask you something. Based on what you see a lot of deals. What do you think? Do you think we should do it? Should we do it? That's a beautiful thing. Let me give you another example of higher authority very quickly. One of my clients is a Ford dealership in Minnesota. They share a common parking lot with a Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Mitsubishi store right next door. So they share a common big parking lot with one big entrance into both lots, but they're owned by separate people. This company here does this huge event sale. You guys know what I'm talking about, the direct mail pieces with the balloons. Everybody got a balloon up, right? Right? Because balloons sell cars. We all know people buy cars if they have a balloon on them, right? So we understand that. So we're like, get balloons, guys. Let's make sure we're ballooned up. Right? So we balloon them up, right? We do everything. We're ready to go, rock and roll. So that dealership is all ballooned up. This dealership, my client, doesn't do anything. Except what? Here's what he does. He goes and balloons up. He doesn't spend $1 in marketing. He just balloons up so the balloons match. Right? So you pull in, you don't know. Balloons everywhere. He doesn't spend not a dollar, not 15 grand, not 20 grand in advertising. Here's what he does. He wears black cargo pants, a black shirt, a black vest, and a mag light. And he stands on the line of the driveway. And as cars pull in, I'm not kidding. It was priceless. Oh my God, $20,000 in mailers of mag light. I'm not kidding. They call the cops. They call the cops. The cops show up. What's the problem? This guy is impersonating an officer. Not wearing a badge. Seeing blue red lights. Is he standing on his property? Yeah. Not doing anything illegal. Don't call us again unless he does something illegal. Why? What's it called? It's amazing what people will do when they think they're faced with an authority. You can influence them if you become one. Scarcity. The use of the fear of loss or the desire to have a limited resource or access to something of value. Scarcity. Scarcity motivates human behavior. Now, not everybody's motivated by scarcity. Right? But scarcity does affect certain people. Some of you have a plaque at your desk. I've seen them. Or this piece of paper tacked to a wall. What does that piece of paper say? The classic. What does it say, guys? You know what I'm talking about. It says, the vehicle you looked at
Yesterday.
right? Today is the same one someone looked at yesterday and is going to what? Buy today. So you better buy today. Now, what percentage of the population believes that? Not many. People are motivated by scarcity. There is a scarcity component. And some people might be influenced by that. But the vast majority of people read that and think, what? Seriously? Seriously? You think I'm that naive? Now watch this. If I'm not motivated by scarcity, and you show me something or try that technique, what happens to your ability to influence me at that point? It's gone. How many of you have been with a customer and you say, well, guys, the programs are going to change here real soon. The customer says, they'll probably what? They'll probably get better. Actually, I've seen them so far, they've been going down. And they go, they'll probably what? Or they'll at least extend them. And you're going, listen to me as I try to scarcity you into doing something. And they won't be affected by your scarcity, right? But some people, you tell them about that, and what do they start doing? They say, oh, when does the program end? Well, what do you think it'll become? Do you have any idea what it'll be? And what are they doing? What are they telling you? They're influenced by what? They're influenced by scarcity. Right? They're influenced by scarcity. When you say, we've been selling a lot of these, and they go, you can always find another one. You guys ever had that? You can always find another one. What does that tell you? They're not influenced by. Scarcity. So what should you stop trying to use? Scarcity. Switch. Go to higher authority. Go to contrast. Go to commitment consistency. Go to obligation reciprocity. Go to like and liking. Go to something else. Stop using scarcity because you're losing influence. You're losing influence. You need to understand this. You sometimes are sabotaging your ability to sell because you're using the wrong influencer with the person. Now, let me give you an opposite of scarcity, which is the exemption principle. This is the opposite of scarcity, the exemption principle. It says that a type of reverse psychology because we believe we are the exception to the rule. Why do so many people speed all the time? Why? Because they're not going to get pulled over. Why does someone cheat on their taxes? Why? Because they're not going to get caught. They cheat on their spouses. Why? They're not going to get caught. Right? They're the exception to the rule. The people that I was just talking about are these people. They're the exception people. So when you say the program will change, they say what? No, it won't. Why? Won't happen to me. Won't change. Not worried about it. Why? Because they think they're the exception to the rule. So what also they're called mismatchers. You say left, they say right. Why? Because they're mismatchers. They're wired that way. They're wired to look at the opposite. So here's how you do when you have somebody who doesn't respond to scarcity, you apply the exemption principle. You speak in reverse psychology. So if you want them to go right, and you say right, they'll say left. So what do you have to say? You have to say left to get them to go right. So watch this. You guys ever been with a customer and you say, folks, between now and then, I really don't know if the car will be here. Between now and then, I just, we're selling so many cars, it probably won't even be here. And here's what the customer says. Finish the sentence. If it's not here, maybe.
It wasn't to be.
I hate that, Randy says, I hate that. Watch this. The reason you hear it is because you're not influencing them the right way. You're creating the objection. If you hate hearing it, stop creating it. I don't know how to help you with that other than tell you guys, you are your own worst enemy. No one is hurting you more than you. No one is. Because you're using the wrong influencers. So what you've got to do is realize that this person is not going to respond to that. Because they indicated that earlier and you ignored it. So you got to go exemption principle. So here's what I say. I say, Derek, between now and Wednesday, I appreciate that you want to wait. And here's what I think. I think the chances of that car selling are really low. I don't think it'll happen. How many cars have I got out there, Derek? Like 300? It's like a 1 in 300 chance that someone has the same taste as you and comes in and picks out that car and swoops it in. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. Could it? Sure, but I don't think so. Worst case scenario, Derek, if somebody swoops it off the motors, we'll start over, man. I'm here all day. I don't care to start over. It don't matter to me. After all, Derek, if it's not here, maybe it's just not meant to be, brother. I'm going to go check on something. I'll be right back. Now, when I say, if it ain't here, maybe it's just not meant to be. Do you know what he starts to think? Gotta get it. Do I really want to start over? That's what he does. Especially if it's a husband-wife, father-daughter, right? He's buying the car for his daughter, right? She wants it. He keeps saying what? Honey, we'll just keep looking. It's okay. There's plenty of fish in the sea, honey. Don't worry. He's doing that number, right? So he's here, she's here. Right? How do you do that? You do this with him and that with her. So you look at them different. You say, listen, I don't think the car is going to sell. I'm with you. The chances of that, super low. 1 out of 300, give me a break. And what are the chances someone's going to pick? I mean, you've got amazing taste. Obviously, somebody could come in with the same taste as you, swoop out and take it out for you. But I don't think it'll happen. Go ahead. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. See? That's the idea. When you understand what influence people, you'll start to speak their language. And when you speak someone's language, they hear you. They hear you. The contrast principle, when two things are compared in immediate succession, if the greater item or idea is presented first, the second lesser idea or item seems significantly less compared to the first. What that means is you present big things first and little things. Ask for big commitments, then little ones. Big commitments first, then little ones. So if I'm on the phone and I'm trying to get you in, I might say something like this. Folks, if it's available and you can do it, if you could come down right now, that would be best. But that's hard for some people, so even if you can't come down until later today, that's okay too. Come down right now, and they start thinking, what are you talking about? I can't come down right now. You say, but later today will also work. And they go, well, I can maybe come down later today. You see how that works? That's why we sell the car first, then we sell the finance products and the aftermarket. Why? You don't start with the $300 aftermarket and then try to get them to buy a $30,000 car. Once you buy a $30,000 car, $300 aftermarket doesn't make no difference. Once you see a $528 payment, right, then $7 more a month ain't no big deal. That's the contrast principle working. So you got to realize that when you're asking for something, ask for something grandiose and big first, then small. Watch this. Folks, what I need from you next is I actually need you to give me 5 names and phone numbers of a referral. I need you to write down 5 names and 5 phone numbers of 5 referrals that I can sell that are in the market in the next month. I need that next. If you can't do 5, I'll take 3, but I need that next. You'll get 1, which is 1 more than you're getting now. That's the contrast principle. Is this making sense, people? Okay. So here's the thing. When you're looking at these ideas, I want to teach you guys the principles first, the foundation first, right? We got to lay a foundation. The next step is value. Add value. John, you need to add value.